much to fix this. I'm doing... The show for tonight is based on, like, Greek life. I remember, like, playing, like, weird children's games. Not children's games, but, like, weird, very rough, simple, like, online games where you, like, drive a car through things. Or motorcycles. I mean, I feel like I wasn't a huge, like, internet kid, but, like, I feel like once I got to high school and it was, like, my brother helped me make a Facebook, and it was, like, right when it was starting, and it was, like, now you can have this. Tumblr was, like, my weird escapism in high school, because there was, like, images and, like, color and art and like, mix of sexuality and, like, all of these things in, like, a very aesthetic and pleasing way. And I remember that was kind of my, like, full void into, like, the weird, that it, like, allowed me to take all of these different elements and then, like, storyboard them together. And I still, like, look at my old Facebook, or not Facebook, Tumblr, as, like, a reference point to, like, origins of, like, the colors I work with and the silhouettes and, like, things that I'm, like, developing now in my own studio practice. I wish I had, like, a better story of, like, oh, it came to me in a dream, or, like, some sort. I just remember, like, one day being like, oh, this seems right, and then just kind of, like, declaring it, and then just, like, letting that build, and just, like, kind of diving into it. But I did, going back to internet things, I got kicked off of Facebook for using BoiBoy as my name, because it didn't count as a legal name. And I feel like getting that, like, reset up and, like, that became very, like, this is my identity. A few years ago, I was getting very into the idea of, like, creating this persona or personality as this, like, kind of endearing narcissist, exploring narcissism, especially within, like, the art community, and the expectations of, like, a queer artist of being, I'm gonna be super flashy, I'm gonna, like, have this, like, narcissistic perspective that I'm gonna manipulate, because everybody's trying to, I think being an artist is inherently narcissistic, and there's, I think, when you recognize it, your ethical or moral kind of backing behind it changes. This quote from a like, mini documentary series thing called Discotexture, but one of the people in it, I forget who it was, but says that when you're creating a club, and I think it can be applied to, like, any sort of installation or space, is that you're setting the stage for a play that hasn't been written yet. And so inherently, when anybody enters that, they are the, like, heroine or, like, lead of their own narrative. And so you're merely trying to build this, like, narrative structure through space, and they kind of apply their own meaning to it, but you can set it up in a way that, like, adds to this, like, grand experience or lure or separation from the self. And I think that doing the party, or, like, having, like, even just, like, encouraging people to get dressed up, and you kind of have that, like, reference with the mirror, and you're putting on an attire that is to go to this thing, or, like, similar to, like, how you would go to church, where you, like, you put on your church clothes, you prepare to enter this space. Getting dressed up to go out or have that sort of event forces you to kind of, like, see yourself and then see this, like, idealized version of what you want your experience to be. And so the role in making an event is hoping that, like, somebody has this, like, maybe one of the best nights of their life, or have, like, meet somebody, or, like, has a weird in-depth conversation about existentialism or what have you. Like, looking back at it now, it was really, like, it was a lot more fun, and it was a lot more, like, having the freedom to really make whatever we wanted to make. Thinking about, like, how amazing that experience actually was, even though it was, like, exhausting and we hated it at the same time. But the thing that came out of it, I think, that made it, I guess, the sense of, like, community and friendship, and, like, the core group of people that we put it together with have, like, become a, like, intensive family, and also very collaborative, and, like, work together on building things, and having that kind of support for each other to be like, oh, this person's working on this project, let's all tag team, what do they need? Going back to like the core idea was one, passion over prestige, making for the sake of making, of just, I think it's really easy to over like conceptualize or over glorify or do whatever. It's like, no, let's just like make a crazy thing to make it. And I feel like coming out of school you're forced to like over conceptualize everything versus just like enjoy the process of building and creating. So I think that like, as from like the maker side of it, was the most rewarding, kind of really gratifying point. There wasn't like a lot of queer spaces in Kansas City. There wasn't a lot of, especially queer spaces that aren't alcohol centric, because we didn't sell alcohol, and it was like, if you want to come and drink, be our guest, do it. But if you don't drink, like, or if you just want to dance, you just want to have fun, like the objective of it wasn't to go to a bar and get drunk and dance, but to like go experience and hang out and have fun and commune with each other in a weird way. For me, at least, like the core idea of just like escapism and thinking about how we seek out different forms of escapism. I think for a lot of queer people, for some reason I don't feel based in this reality, or it doesn't seem as like correct, like fitting. And so I think part of it is like trying to find something that's more fitting. Escapism sounds to me, well, like not demeaning, but like trying to create a space or a world or a performance or something that feels more natural